Welcome to Adventure Freaks, a podcast on living abroad on a budget.
So you ready?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You had your
Wheaties.
cafe con leche or cafe con negro?
Con leche. Yeah.
Con leche. Nice. All right. Okay, so let's we'll get started now. All right. Well, welcome, Jack. I'm thank you so much for being here. Jack Abercrombie is my guest today, and he lives in Cumbaya, which is a suburb of Quito in Ecuador. And Jack originally is from Atlanta, Georgia, and he moved down to Ecuador 15 years ago at the age of 45. So he is a worldly guy. He goes by Journeyman Jack in Ecuador, and he works to help and assist people that need lodging or are interested in purchasing real estates or rentals. If you're heading down to Ecuador for a visit, he's the guy to contact because he can help you and assist you in purchases or rentals or just temporary lodging. Thanks again for doing this, Jack. I appreciate it. So my question to you, my first question is, of all the places, tell us where, for the people who don't know where Ecuador is, where is it located? I'm going to pull up a map as well, but explain where is Ecuador and how did you find Ecuador?
All right. Ecuador is located in the northern part of South American continent, right under Colombia. And we're just north of Peru. We're the second smallest country on the South American continent. And as you follow that equatorial line right across there, it cuts through right here where I'm at in Quito, in the Eastern Valley suburbs. And I've been here 13 years. I came in 2008, and but I live and work here full time. I don't go back and forth. And I'm a dual citizen as of 2014, and then got married to my longtime sweetheart in October 2019. But yeah, a buddy came down ahead of me in 06 and 07 on 2 1-month trips, and he took about 3,000 photos. First trip was northern Ecuador. The second trip, southern Ecuador. He's a semi-pro photographer. He's a equipment dealer, buddy of mine, and it's $10,000-$15,000 in a backpack full of lenses and stuff. I mean, he really does good work. You can find him at Flickr under Go Native, or his website gonative.com. And he and I had traveled together before in Europe, and he just bugged me forever to get a passport, and finally I did at 39, and went with him and another buddy to Europe. And that's what gave me the travel bug at that late stage in life, of finally getting out of the little security blanket of hometown Atlanta. But when I got back from that, I knew I wanted to live abroad, and I was extended that 1-week trip to 90 days Europe, from the Netherlands down to Greece. And then New Year's Eve night, 2002 going into 2003, I flew into Cairo, and I stayed 90 days in Egypt, Israel, and Jordan. So when I got back home, March 14, 2003, I knew I wanted to live abroad. And with Bud coming here and doing recon ahead of me, I really knew I wanted to come. So I made the move in September 08, and I did 90 days in the Northern Zone. and then 90 days in the southern zone, and including the coast. And I knew with that 6 months that I wanted to stay and make it my home. So I went home March 2009, got all my documents together, rounded up last little bit of equipment sales and stuff I was doing in order to bring that on the road with me and be able to have that in my toolbox at 45 years old. And that was 90 days to get out of Dodge after a lot of preparation before that 6 month trip. And I came back into Ecuador June 09, and I've lived here full time since June 09. This spot where I'm at is convenient to the airport. 20 minutes to the Centro Historico downtown Quito at 9,350. I'm in a valley at 7,200, and airport's 20 minutes that way. And I'm right in the middle. It's about, the census of 2010 shows Kumbaya to have 31,000 people. We're probably closer to 40. And it's where my wife's people are all from, where she was born and raised. And we lived in North Quito for 5.5 years prior to this, and good size home, 4 bedrooms, bonus room, like 350. But the urbanization, the homeowners association didn't really take security very seriously there, and they would hire a guard on the front gate who could be an immigrant, like myself, the immigrant, but a Colombian or a Cuban with a knife and a flashlight. You know, that's all he would have, and paying him very little. You know, not paying the government quota for what minimum wage is, which is 400. And here in this part of town, the guards are legal certified guards. They make $1,200 a month. They have open carry, 9mm, and we need to see your ID before you come into the subdivision. Even if it's a police vehicle, we need to see your ID and badge number, and then how long you're going to be in there, you know, make you pass and come on back out. Security is a big issue, and finding the right spot that, you know, you feel comfortable in. And we had now 6 years ago, we had a niece on the way that was born in July 2015, and we made this move here March, in advance of that arrival, March 2015. And I really need to be near the airport to get my guests and clients and friends and family in and out of the airport. It's much easier. There's other expat destinations where you don't have an international airport just 20 minutes away. You know, to get from Cuenca to Guayaquil is 4 hours, and that road stays closed a lot. It stays closed often. It's closed now as we speak. And the domestic flights that tie into Cuenca and Manta are, you know, you're going to have a layover in Quito. Is the way it normally works. And if you want to go home, you're going to have a layover in Quito to go home. So this works for me. And being from Atlanta and a good sized international city, I kind of like being in the suburbs now at this time in life, but with access to it if I want to go to town. And like I say, it's old petroleum. The foreigners that live here are normally old oil workers, and we're all married to Ecuadorians. Some of my neighbors that are expats, if you want to use that terminology, they're been here since 1966, one of them, and he's 80 years old. He's got grandchildren, and one wife passed away, and he's on a second wife and second batch of children. But most everybody that comes to our lunch group is married to an Ecuadorian, be it a male and a female, or a female married to a male. And we all have a good grasp of Spanish because we, married into it. So we don't have that much common ground with expats, say in Cuenca or Manta or these other hot spots, Salinas, because they're usually a couple from Canada or US coming down, and they're both learning Spanish, at their own pace. So it's a little different. We're more integrated, probably. Like I say, before we went on the air, my father-in-law was here doing a 2-hour Zoom class from 9 to 11 my time this morning. And he'll do that Monday through Saturday. And in the evenings, 4 to 6. Some of them are 6 to 8, but he has evening classes too, Monday through Friday, and in Spanish. And we have all pulled together. He did this painting behind me, and we all pulled together. And after 19 months of the pandemic, his Casa de la Cultura Quito was closed mid-March 2020, and they've not called him back yet. So he's went online at 76, and he's learning about Zoom. He's learning about smartphones and tablets and stuff. And my wife helps him every morning and every evening to do that. And brother-in-law is a tattoo artist. He was also sent home. And the unemployment and underemployment in Ecuador is significant right now. So people are having to, get creative and find other ways to get by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. So a couple things. You mentioned elevation. So you live just outside of Quito. How far are you if you drive to Quito? How far does it take?
20 minutes.
20 minutes outside of Quito.
With no traffic and off-peak traffic times.
Okay, so what is the elevation? Because I know it's quite high there.
9,350 in downtown Quito. And you drop into this valley out here, we're roughly 7,200, 7,500.
Is that an adjustment to learn how to kind of live at that altitude? Is it challenging at first?
It can be. It sure can be. Yeah, Cuenca's 8,400 in places. Cotacachi, 2 hours to my north, is 8,000. In about 2 or 3 days, you're going to know if you're going to get over it or not, and sometimes it may take 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There's cocoa tea, various remedies. I had a young couple come in 6-8 years ago, and they flew into Quito. That was when the old Quito airport, so it was at least 8 years ago. The new Quito airport, I say new, opened February 2013. And I work very closely with a buddy of mine, another YouTube channel called Mr. Second Passport. And he opened up a bed and breakfast type place just in time for that new airport, and has really done well up until the pandemic. But this couple came in prior to 2013, so say 2012, and they had a little girl and a little dog, and they're ripping and roaring, ready to go to Cuenca, except she's got just devastated with altitude sickness. And we had all planned to load up with all their bags, and they're moving to Cuenca sight unseen. No, she can't get out of bed. She's just doing terrible. And hostel owners bringing her to cocoa tea and all this stuff. And I get with her husband, and I says, look, let's go down here to the pharmacy and let's get these little magic pills called sildenafil. Sildenafil is the generic form of Viagra, and it's 50 milligrams. and you cut that in half and you give it to her. She's feeling better within about 2 or 3 hours after 4 or 5 days of suffering. You know? But I was trying to get them to do this trick, and they just didn't think it would work. And it's very Googleable, search engineable, that mountain climbers use it to open up their lungs and capillaries. And it's in an extreme case like this. You know, I mean, you wouldn't want to go around eating them like candy, but you know, it does help.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you guys have gatherings quite a bit. You do lunches with some of the people that you know, and their wives. So I'm guessing the food is quite spectacular. But what is the food that you eat? I mean, what is the Ecuadorian cuisine that's you know, like the common food that most people eat with throughout the country?
Well, you know, there's something called típico, typical Ecuadorian food. They like a lot of rice and potatoes and a little strip of meat, maybe some soup with a chicken claw in it. A chicken claw soup is pretty hard to beat if you got the sniffles or something. It'd probably cure COVID. That type food is like, when I got here, it was pretty common at $250 for that plate and that soup combo. But now it's more like $350. And I personally, I just don't care for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? On the coast, I love typical ceviche and coastal Mariscos food. This mountain Indian food, I'm just not that turned on about it. I'll eat it. I have to eat it. I'm married into it. I have to eat it a few nights a week. But coastal típico seafood. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the good stuff, huh?
Yeah. They do shrimp up like you want it, or these langostinos. It's just very, very economical, right to your door. I mean, what we do where we meet here in Kumbaya is it's in a U-shaped container food court. And if I can just take you through the Italian, Pakistani, Indian, steakhouse, Mexican, Colombian, wings and ribs, shawarma, hamburger joint, Chinese place, full bar, cake, pastries, ice cream, coffee. That's where we meet, and it's not $350 a meal. And a lot of people were told by International Living that they're going to eat really well and really good food for $350 a meal. And this, in my humble opinion, I'd rather eat these other international cuisines just like I would do back home. I don't eat the same thing all the time. And I will have me some Ecuadorian typical food out on the road or whatever, and turn some clients onto it and see what they think about the chicken claw soup. You ever had a bowl of soup with chicken claw floating around in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people hadn't. It's people from some parts of the United States and Canada have not had that experience yet. And it's kind of like, they just push it around, look at it. They won't take a bite of it. And then another great mountain typical food, Sierras, is something called a cuy. Cuy is for all intents and purposes, a little squirrel, a little rodent about this long, and they'll put it on a spit and just really get it tough where you can hardly, stringy and tough meat, and they love it. And they're proud of it. And it's $16 to $24 for one cuy, according to what type of establishment you're in. If it's a hole in the wall or if it's a nice place, that could be as high as $24 for this rodent.
Wow.
International Living and those Retire Abroad magazines They didn't tell you what the cost of that cuy is. They may speak of it, but they didn't tell you what it's expensive to have it done right. You know, I imagine me and my wife could buy some and I could skin it and we could try it ourselves, but I'll just leave that to the experts.
I've never had cuy, but I'd like to try. So let's break it down. So let's talk about this. Is we want to get into the nitty gritty about the cost of living in and around Ecuador. There's some terrain like Cuenca. It's popular. I hear Esmeralda's popular. Quito, obviously, a very popular destination. So you're the guy in this world of real estate. You're a great resource for people, the viewers, to get an understanding of what they can get an apartment for, a comfortable apartment, what they can purchase a flat for, condo, small house. So let's start in Quito, where you live. That's your territory. That's your terrain. You live in the suburb, but you lived in Quito. I think you mentioned that you had a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house for $350 a month. A 4-bedroom, 3. That's hard to wrap your brain around how affordable that is. You did mention, there are concerns with security and safety in certain areas of the larger cities. I think it's one of those things like where everybody has to kind of live in a particular area for a certain period of time to really determine if that's the place for them, if that's the neighborhood for them, if that's where they really want to be. But help us understand, like in Quito, in the suburbs of Quito, what are we talking about in numbers as far as a comfortable place to live for a couple, for an individual that's thinking about, hey man, I'm ready to take this leap and check out Ecuador and go live there.
Yeah. When I was living at Mitad del Mundo, it was the old airport was just a short trip into town when it was downtown. I mean, and you could still see it on YouTube, the old Quito airport. The pilots would have to be specially trained for this airport. They would bring it in there, set her down, and reverse engine, and blah, 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 blah. And that was my first year and a half was in downtown Quito. And then I was like 5.5 years up there at Mitad del Mundo. Now, Mitad del Mundo is where the national park for the equator is. It's right on the money. And it's a dry desert area similar to the airport, the new airport now. It's in a dry desert area.
This is outside of Quito, or?
It's metropolitan Quito, and they want to claim it because the equator goes through there, But technically, it is 10 minutes from the city limits. Whereas here on the east side, I'm 20 minutes from the city limits. So I got further away from Quito, and up there, I started seeing my neighbors getting broken into, and they'd leave grandma home with a shotgun or whatever. She'd get broke in on, and the guards were worthless. And she was wanting to come back out here to mom and dad for that little niece being born. So we moved out here, and it doubled my rent to be in a nice area. I mean, I could be a cheapskate and keep on trying to have more for less, but what's it worth when you come home and all your stuff's gone, or they come in on you in the middle of the night.
So break it down for what, so you're out in a safer, secure area in a suburb of Cumbaya that's outside of Quito. Break it down for us as far as the cost out there for what you have. You have what, a 3-bedroom?
3 bedrooms upstairs and a bonus room that could be a bedroom, a full bath up there. Downstairs, we have big kitchen, big dining room, big living room that I've turned into an office. $650, 5.5 years ago. Then after a 2-year contract, she went up on me by the law 3%. That was $13 to $661, I think. $663.50, something like that. And then another 2 years rolled by here not long ago, and she's wanting to go up on the rent. I said, look, I'll just move on and find something else. I pay my rent on time, even through the pandemic. And okay. So I'm 663,
Okay.
and I pay $25 for these guys out front on the front lines with 9mm, Mr. 9mm. And they're legal. They're trained. They're $1,200 a month salary. But out of these 150 houses in here, we all chip in $25. It cuts the common grass. We got 2 big football field long parks right in the middle of the subdivision. So there's a big common building to have the 15-year-old quinceanera parties. When they turn 15, they want to have a big party for the daughter, and weddings or whatever can be done in this big community building in the center of the subdivision. Out of this subdivision, there has been other foreigners live here like myself. And my wife was just telling me not long ago, there's a WhatsApp chat group for the subdivision that there's a German family moved in, bought a big house. I've not met them yet, but I'm the only North American, Norte Americana in this subdivision. So when somebody comes to visit me or whatever, they take it a little bit easier on them, not much, a little bit. They're here to see Gringo Jack, my power bill is $35. This is for a couple. My house phone is $10, which I think people have about phased those out, but still here, like back home, back in the day, if you've got a landline through Bell South, you can at least have some sort of stable internet. And that's one advantage of having a house phone. You can get the national telecoms internet's real good price and a real good stable system. My gas tanks are like, just a reference back home, you go to the gas station and you want to change out your barbecue grill LP tank. Well, these are twice that, and they weigh about 40 pounds, 18 kilograms, and that's brought to your door for $3.50. And the guy will sit it down and put it where you want it. Me and my wife go through about one of those a month, gas, electric, water bill runs $6, more or less, according to how much I water my babaco plants. I have a little hobby of, and like I encourage all my friends and colleagues that come to lunch, let's bring something from the garden. And I bring a babaco and get to give away and swap, trade, whatever. And speaking of fruits and vegetables, little woman brought this home.
What is that?
That is a papaya.
That's the papaya. Wow.
Yes. Yes.
That's nice.
From Hama, Manabí, coastal Ecuador. This is
Very
about 7.5 pounds. It's about like a baby, about big as my head.
Yeah.
$2.
Wow. Now, what you said you take something from your garden. What was that you mentioned?
A babaco.
What is that?
It's a mountain hybrid papaya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's about a third this size. It's not that big, and that's huge for a papaya.
It is. What
But
is the internet cost and the cell phone cost over there?
I've got 2 systems. One is $23 for 5 megabytes, and the other one is $25 for 5 megabytes. I do a little redundant backup in case one goes down, and to keep father-in-law on a separate system when he's doing Zoom and I'm doing Zoom. Those 2 worlds don't conflict too much. Cell phone, I've got a cell phone package of $30. It's I had one for 50 prior to the pandemic, but as soon as I got out of lockdown on the first lockdown from March, April, May, June 2020, I went to my Claro cell service provider and says, give me the cheapest thing you got, because I'm not really gone that much and traveling that much, you know. And this does fine at $30 a month. And I ask for passwords wherever I go and try not to get into my data too much, you know. And we don't have the 5G like you guys. I mean, you really can do good to get 3G and 4G. So getting a password at a restaurant or a cafe is just faster.
Yeah. So all of that where you're at, and you're living in a what they would consider a nice area, a secured area, safer area where you're going to pay typically top dollar to live there. And you're
Yeah,
still, based on breaking this down, you're still under $1,000 per month.
yeah.
So it is really reasonable to live in Ecuador, even in the nice upscale areas.
Well, you figure my 650, and then we've probably got 4 trips to the supermarket, 3 or 4 trips to the supermarket that could run 400. And then those little bit of utilities, 11, 1200.
Yeah,
But
that's incredible.
I have single guys and single ladies that get by on much less. And as I was telling you before the interview, I moved my aunt and uncle here in 2010, and then uncle went back in 2017 due to health reasons. And my aunt is still here and in Cotacachi, and she rents a little place for like 250. And you know, and then another buddy that's actually in my lunch group, he's out in the next village called Tubaco, and then out in the countryside at what should be 450 before the pandemic. The owners dropped it to 250. And so if you really hunt and search for an economical at 250, 350 range, yeah, $1,000 is fine, or 900 or 800 is fine if you just don't have a lot of needs, you know, a big alcohol bill or a big other sorts of bills and things people get into. You
Yeah.
can make it, you know.
So you mentioned Cotacachi. Where is that at?
That is 1.5 hours northeast of here. It's like a bedroom community where I have just moved 50, 75 other aunts and uncles, you know. You zoom in just a little bit, and now, yes, up. Otavalo is the biggest, and there's Cotacachi.
I
If
can't
you'll,
see. Where's Cotacachi? Am I
can
getting
you see
close?
my cursor? Can you see my cursor from the E35, what they're calling the E35? You may not see mine.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Okay. Well, here's Quito, and then you go into the northeast,
Mm-hmm.
east, go more northeasterly. Yeah, Ibarra. Ibarra is okay.
There it
Cotacachi,
is.
Otavalo. Cotacachi is the leathercraft town. It's about 10,000 population, and Otavalo, just below it, is the biggest indigenous open air market with woven textiles, and there's expats that live there also.
Mm-hmm. So where would you say is the most desirable place to live in all of Ecuador? And I know everybody has different, you know, ideas of where they want to live, and they have, you know, they different qualifiers. But where are some of the most desirable places, in your opinion, to live throughout Ecuador?
Well, I like to do the four C's: Kumbaya, Cotacachi, Coast, Cuenca. Cuenca has had the most mass media live abroad magazine promotion than anywhere else for 12, 13 years. I don't think they had a convention this year. I don't think International Living came to town this year.
Now, Cuenca looks like it's close to the beach. Is it fairly close?
No,
No?
it's very, very illusion of that.
Okay.
To get out of Cuenca, you've got to go through a mountain pass called the Cajas, the boxes, and that road stays closed most of the time, a lot of the time. And if you look, you'll see that E40.
Mm-hmm.
And also right there where your cursor is,
Yeah.
you can get over to Guayaquil. There's a couple of different ways, and that's going to be an alternative route. But you get to Guayaquil in about 4 hours to the international airport to fly back out. And that's it's about 4 hours to get to the ocean, to get to the river. All this ocean you're seeing south of Guayaquil is not a very desirable beach area. That's more like for bananas and industry and agriculture. But if you go straight across to Guayaquil and then go out the other side of Guayaquil to Salinas, that's very desirable. Beautiful beaches and a small town atmosphere, nice place. And then going up the hill, Ayongue and Montanita is a hot spot for surfing. It's one of the international surfing hot spots. And there's a town, sister town to Montanita for retirees and expats called Olon. It's not showing up on the map. Olon.
Maybe if
Puerto Lopez.
Here it is.
There
Yeah.
we are. Puerto Lopez is our whale watching area, and you can get charter boats out of there to go deep sea diving and deep sea fishing. Parque Nacional Machalali.
Yeah.
Puerto Cayo has had a lot of attention over the years. It's a sleeping village, very pretty area, and only 45 minutes, 1 hour more, you're in Manta. So it's almost kind of like a suburb of Manta. Manta is very desirable. Big new $200 million shopping mall, 12 cinema theater. Then just north of Manta is a place where I've moved a lot of people to. It's called San Clemente in San Jacinto. There's 3 little villages right there at San Jacinto. That's striking distance to get back to Manta for shopping, and to the north to get to Bahia for shopping. But it's a very quiet, easygoing fishing village, San Jacinto. And maybe if you zoomed in, it would show San Clemente and San Alejo, but it doesn't. Yeah, there it is, Playa San Clemente, Manabí. And another expat that came here in 1995, a German guy. He built a Jimmy Buffett type bar and restaurant right there in San Clemente, and is married the Ecuadorian lady and about 5 children. Has carved out a real good life for herself. In Bahia, you probably have about a population of 10,000 people, lots of condos and amenities. All this area was rocked pretty hard. April 2016, we had a 7.8 magnitude earthquake, and I was able to help out some and do some volunteer work for about 9 months after the earthquake, and learned even more. I thought I knew a lot about the coast, but I learned a lot more. after that quake. I got there about 5 days after it happened, and
Yeah.
took some supplies down.
Let me ask you this. Of all these places that you've identified along the coast, and they look beautiful, I mean, where are some which cities offer really affordable housing, places to live?
San Jacinto, San Clemente. If you want affordable, you know, it's like in life and anywhere. If you want nice, you're going to pay a little something for nice. If you want affordable, you can have affordable. You know, there's some expats in that San Clemente, San Jacinto area renting for $450. 1, 2, 3 blocks off the water, where it gets kind of hot and sticky.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you want to kind of like maybe be right on the water, something similar to what I'm paying, about $650.
So you can live right on the water for $650 a month.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For rent. And then the fishermen are going to bring the langostinos and the shrimp right to your door. Yeah. And they can be headed or unheaded. Another thing there in San Clemente is a project that goes hand in glove with a 5-star resort called Playa Azul on the beach side of the Malecon Street. And then Vista Azul is like an amphitheater. They're stacked up looking, everybody's got a view of the ocean, but you're this side of the street, you know, about a block off the water. And those run $650, $750, 2-bedroom, air conditioning, rather nice condos. And then when you rent in Vista Azul, you have access to Playa Azul resort, the tiki bar, the big nice pool, their private beach. You know, it has its advantages.
Mm-hmm. So let's go to Cuenca. Why Cuenca? Why is that so popular? There are a lot of expats, I understand, that live down there and are moving there. What is it about Cuenca?
Well, for one thing, it's I'm up here on the equator, and they're 500 kilometers south of the equator. So June, July, August in Cuenca, you're able to go see your breath. It's very cold down there, and they have a lot of rain. So a lot of those people that live there are from Pacific Northwest, and they're used to that kind of weather, and it doesn't really bother them that much. But the main thing Cuenca gets is a lot of publicity from a company called internationalliving.com. And they've had just mass media promotion for 15 years. And people don't ever think there's anything else in Ecuador but Cuenca. And I got tons of dear friends in Cuenca, moved tons of people down there. Some stay there, and some later on, after a few years, they ease over to the coast or ease over to Portugal or somewhere else. You know, it's a place to go and get a feel for living abroad and have a lot of first world amenities. And I just read in one of the expats magazines they're about to get their first something called a mega maxi. Well, we have mega maxis in Metro Quito is pretty prevalent, but Cuenca is 600,000 people, city limits, and about 1 million metro. And it can be challenging to get in and out of there with flights and stuff. You're gonna have a layover in Quito, or a layover, you're gonna get to do that mountain pass, whether if it's opened or not, out of Guayaquil. So that would be recommended to not do that drive at night. Do that, stay a night in Guayaquil, go the next morning. Cuenca is very clean. It's a real good class of Ecuadorians down there. that like and promote cleanliness and safety. However, with the I hate to keep referring back to it, but I don't want nobody to be shocked. 19, 20 months into this, crime has gone up across the board all over Ecuador. And I don't misrepresent anything or hide anything. You're going to find out sooner or later, so I might as well tell you here on Remy's channel, or in our own personal Skype conversation or Zoom conversation.
Yeah, what did they attribute it to?
People not being able to work, being out of work. I was just looking at an article yesterday I mentioned to you, $4 trillion loss in tourism around the world.
Okay.
Top three: Turkey, Ecuador, South Africa. People are not flying like they used to. They're not coming and going like they used to. We really depend on tourism here a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We don't have safety nets like in the U.S. Father-in-law was sent home to pretty much do for himself, and as well as brother-in-law. And that's because I'm married into an Ecuadorian family. I know this firsthand. Whereas an expat couple that's in a gated community with around a bunch of other expats, they may not realize that or have an impact from that until they're broke in on or something,
Yeah.
But
okay. Well, let's talk about healthcare. A lot of people that move overseas, they're always concerned about healthcare. That's a big issue. How is the healthcare in Ecuador, and what is the cost?
Well, you got 3 levels of healthcare. You got what the mass media Live Abroad magazine calls free. You got free healthcare in Ecuador. And then you've got something in the middle of the road for the working man called IESS. That's Institute of Ecuador Social Security Program. And that's what I'm on. And then you've got private healthcare. This free stuff that they speak of, nothing's really free. Some tax dollars or somebody's paying for it or not. And you get what you pay for there at the free. And then you've got $77 a month like I pay for. And then my wife has added on at 15.
Can other expats access the IESS?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
And that would be the same price range for them. And in private healthcare, where you're going to actually get seen about in an orderly manner, can run you 65 and under about 120. After you're over 65, it could run you as high as 150 or 200, according to what company you get with. And they'll take care of about 80% of most anything that comes up. Mm-hmm. And you pay and they reimburse you. Is the way that works.
And the IESS, that works the same? Do you have to pay up front?
No.
That sounds good. And what is the cost for you and your wife?
77 and 15 for a dependent.
Gotcha. Okay. So it is very affordable.
Yeah, it is. And then I hate to keep saying it, but back to the pandemic, they just told me, don't come down here. Don't come back. We'll call you. And so after about a year, February, March, I just start fighting my way back in the system, and I get in there and I get some imaging done. And then March, I get to see my doctor. And then I got appointments for June and July, and they call and said, don't come down here. Back to, it's a roller coaster ride. But then it was about that night on Spanish television on the news, my particular IESS hospital was having a protest. We don't have any money. All the money's going to, vaccinations and other things. And we're not seeing about any other people, we don't have the money. We don't have money for medicine, Band-Aids. to come calibrate this MRI machine. When that 5.1 hit, you got to have the technicians from Miami fly in and recalibrate the machine. And they don't have the money, the budget, and they're kind of got some corruption going on inside the IES itself. And this new president is working on that and trying to address that. But in his first 100 days, he's managed to do what he campaign promised was 9 million vaccinations in his first 100 days. His first 100 days will be up here sometime mid-September, and he's met that quota out of 17 and a half, 18 million Ecuadorians. He's halfway there, and he's gunning and shooting for 95%, 12 years old and up. That's what he wants to do by the end of this year. That's not a campaign promise. That's just something icing on the cake that he's promising.
Yeah. Awesome. So how about work for people that want to come down and work in Ecuador? Is that easy to do?
They need to bring their work with them. They need to be able to work online. Unemployment and underemployment's probably never been as high as it is right now. So if they're going to work, they need to bring something with them, or come here and create some work for some people, an entrepreneurial spirit or something. Open up a bed and breakfast, open up a hotel, something along those lines, maybe. That may a line of work, but we still need to get tourism back to where it used to be, pre-pandemic, for something like that to work, because there's so many places have closed and gone out of business. And I mean, some decent family chains that had 4 or 5 restaurants around the country, 30, 40 years in business. Casa Vaca Gorda, something. They went out. And then, of course, smaller fries went out. And it's always been a turnover of come into business, go out of business. But when you just don't have the customers and the clientele, and even your local people don't have the extra money to be eating out and doing things, it's just tough. It's tough on the economy.
Sure.
It's not so tough on expats and retirees, because they got X amount of money coming, win, lose, or draw. But for your fellow man out here, it's really difficult times.
Yeah. Jack, have you helped anybody come down that really wanted to simplify their life? And what I mean by that is that there are people that just want to live in a community where they can, and it's a one of these pretty communities. That's kind of what we envision sometimes. We envision these really pretty, picturesque communities where you can walk to the grocery store, you can walk to the cafes, you can walk to the bakery, and you don't need a vehicle. Everything is accessible by foot. And are there communities like that in Ecuador? If so, where are they? And what can you get, what can you purchase a place for, like a flat, or rent for in those particular areas? Do they exist?
Let's start with my number one place that I send people to that want that particular lifestyle. I send them to Cotacachi. And don't get me wrong, there's 5 or 6 that I can think of off the top of my head, neighborhoods in Cuenca you can do that same thing. And but Cotacachi, to my proximity of 2 hours, it's just like a hour and a half if you drive steadily, and 2 hours if you just goof around. North of me, it's like in Atlanta, I'll be going to grandmother's house in Dahlonega, and it was an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. And that's just why I moved my aunt and uncle there, and all these other unofficial aunts and uncles. I really like the place. It's got everything that you were just mentioning. But this is the kicker. It's flat as a flitter. So if you're elderly and if you're out of shape like I am, and you don't want to be climbing mountains and stuff, you know, after 19 months of sitting here at the old command module, 244, and I've always been 200 pounds here. But in America, up there in USA, I was always 240. Now I'm back to my fighting weight from being inactive, not as unemployed as I've been in the last 20 months and doing more online. But in Cotacachi, and my 360-pound uncle could take his walker and go get that meat down there at the farmer's market, swinging in the breeze with flies buzzing around it. He'd buy him some meat and he'd go over there to the fruit section and buy his fruits and vegetables and get on back to the house and go to cooking and eating. Because to stay 360, you have to constantly be cooking and eating, you know. And but that's the place, Cotacachi, flat. Now these neighborhoods I'm talking about in Cuenca aren't necessarily this laid out, this flat, and this simple.
So it
And
sounds like is Cuenca more picturesque than Cotacachi? Usually flat means.
No, you're in the valley and you're looking at Imbabura right here. You're looking at Imbabura, and then in the other direction, you're looking at Mama Cotacachi. Papa Imbabura, Mama Cotacachi. It is beautiful up there. And so is Cuenca. Beautiful views. Cuenca's in a valley. Cotacachi's in a valley. Cuenca's just a much bigger valley with 3-4 major rivers running through it. Walk along the riverbanks.
So for a flat,
places.
for a flat in Cotacachi, how much could you spend? I mean, per month.
I hate to keep saying it, but to be in a good place, not where my aunt's at, but not where my buddy's at 250. I'm talking about a nice, safe compound for 650. You know,
Okay.
That's a good rule of thumb. A buddy of mine's the rental agent for this condos called Primavera 2, and it's right at the edge of Leather Street. You come out of that compound and you're on Leather Street. Restaurants, coffee shops, everything. In Cuenca, there is a specific Facebook page called 650 Rentals and Under, you know. And that 650 is not a too far off the mark for just getting off the boat and finding something. And do that on a month-to-month basis and scout around if you want to save $100 or something, or a couple of hundred.
Do the apartments, do they tend to come with like a balcony or an outside sitting area ever? Or?
It just depends. You know,
Depends.
The ones I'm particularly talking about, what they do there. It's a four-story building. The top is a penthouse that has all that you're talking about. The third and the second floor, they all have 3 bedrooms, but the third and the second floor make one of those bedrooms a sunroom, a sitting room with a L-shaped window, huge window, 12 by 6, where you're seeing the mountains and everything, and it's screened, sliding windows. And then see the first floor, can't see over the walls, the compound and the walls. That's a Latin American thing. You build your wall first and then you build your house. This culture here, if you just leave something laying around and it's not attended to or behind the wall, they figure you don't need it. You know, they're gonna take it. Outside of this compound of Primavera 2 is monster avocado trees, 6 or 8 of them, big, mature, 70, 80 foot tall avocado trees that the gardeners are going around with bushel bags of them and sets them out for everybody to partake of. Lemon trees for the Margaritaville folks. All that's part of the package. There's a common garden in this place called Primavera 2 that everybody can partake of. It's a community garden taken care of. Lots of bench sitting and all there on the property in the compound, or just right outside your door is a church square with park benches and coffee shops and all that, just literally 1 block from coming outside of your compound. And then there's Leather Street that goes about 12 blocks all the way up to the bus station and to the farmers market. You know, same thing down in Cuenca. You could have 6 of these neighborhoods, you know, very nice areas where you can go to the panderia, the bakery, go to breakfast, go to, you know, various cuisines and restaurants. Cuenca's probably a little more international than Cotacachi due to the little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Cotacachi has to go 40 minutes up to Ibarra to get to the Super Maxi. When I say Super Maxi, I'm saying Walmart. And when I say Mega Maxi, I'm talking Super Walmart. You know, the difference of that. And or they can come back down here to Quito and hit all those things in an hour and a half. And so a lot of my lunch group is newbies on Tuesdays, just arrived. And then my friends in Cotacachi come down from time to time for shopping and stuff. And we're running right now. We're back up to pre-pandemic numbers, running about 25, 30 attendees each Tuesday at my lunch group. And that's a good sign, you know, that things are, you know, our hospitals in Guayaquil, where the pandemic started for us, have not had any cases, hospitalized cases, in like a week now. Lasso's really taken the pandemic very seriously, whereas the guy before was like, you know, if I could just get through this last year of my term, I'll leave you with it. And so it's new frontier for all of us. And, you know, Lasso's a businessman, a banker out of Guayaquil, and he's doing the best he can with what he's got to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And fulfilling things he promised on the campaign trail, and reaching across the aisle to the indigenous nations and trying to be a diplomat. And he's got a little trouble in our national Congress where they kind of want to filibuster him and not go along with the program. And he's got something that he can do for that called a death cross. He can call for a special election and maybe have them eliminated if they don't want to cooperate.
Sure.
But it's interesting times in Ecuador.
Yeah. Interesting times everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, Jack, that's all I have. I mean, is there anything else that you can think of that our viewers would like to hear about Ecuador that you could share with them? Anything that we didn't cover, anything that you find really fascinating or amazing about the country that you chose to live in that we didn't discuss?
Well, they're resilient people. They're tough people, and they've survived, you know, conquistadors and natural disasters. We're on the Pacific Ring of Fire, so we have things to deal with from time to time, and they always bounce back, and bounce back with a vengeance, with a happy heart, and you really can't just get them down. You can't get them down, can't hold them down. They're coming back, and they always do, and they will from this too. Don't be put off about travel. Take your little old PCR test or whatever you got to do to come on down, and that needs to be 72 hours in advance of the flight, and that's all you need. If you have a vaccination card and it's 14 days prior from your last shot, that'll work also. Don't let a little pandemic spoil your retirement plans or your travel plans, exploration plans. Feel free to call on me if I can be of any assistance to any of your audience. reach out and find me on most any search engine. It's Journeyman Jack in Ecuador, relocation services. And we can do your visa, we can do your container. We have a complete crew of umbrella package of all relocation services. And I also help people to leave as well.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Well, Jack, thanks so much for your guidance today and your insights into Ecuador. I truly appreciate it. Our viewers will truly appreciate it as well. We'll add your contact information at the end of this podcast as well. It's going to be posted on YouTube where they'll be able to view it. But thanks so much. I appreciate your time, buddy. And you have a terrific rest of the day, man.
Thank you, Remy. Thank you so much. Come see us.
Take care.
All right.
All right.
Hoy me gusta el verano porque el cielo está a mi lado, porque las aves cantan y mi corazón salta. Estoy contenta, estoy feliz.